So, I'm in my office and I get a call from Dodie Cantrell. It says, we got this group over here at UGA, DiGamma, Kappa, and we got this event, and we want you to come over and be a part of it. I get those calls a lot to MC events, and I said, sure, I'd like to come back to Athens and MC something. I'd do that all the time. No, you're not MCing it, you're being recognized. And I'm like, me? And they said, yeah. And I'm floored. I'm humbled. I just can't believe it. Thank you, students, for this. It means the world. I was not a part of DiGamma Kappa when I was at school here. I was involved in the athletic department. I was a student trainer here, and that's how I spent my days. I was at J School during the morning, and then I would be in the athletic department every afternoon. So I worked with the football and baseball teams. I taped and did all that medical type stuff, knowing that journalism was what I wanted to do, but that took a lot of my time. So to be recognized by that group, and I knew what it was, is really special. And thank you. It's great to be here tonight with my wife. Lynn has been with me for 32 years, and she's been on this journey. Man, it's been awesome. And you have to have a partner in this, and she's been there. Thank you. My daughter Lauren is here, my oldest daughter. It's great to have her here as well. She's been on this journey because all she's ever known is Dad being on television. My youngest daughter Leah is at a church retreat, so she can't be here tonight. And it's nice to have my parents here who live nearby and that have allowed me to grow up in a loving home and gave me a great foundation to be the person that I wanted to be. I still think, though, my dad was in manufacturing, my mom in education, they really don't understand what I do. That their son's in television and in journalism, they don't get this and haven't, but they're supportive, and that's what matters. Because this is a wonderful, crazy type of industry that you've kind of aligned yourself with. So, what I want to talk about tonight, and I got a lot of ideas, but I thank you again, students, for recognizing me. When you're with somebody or you meet somebody and they say, "How you doing?" Response is, "Okay, fine, great." Mine has always been, "I'm living the dream," and my response has been that 30 years ago, 25 years ago, 20 years ago, I'm living the dream. I'm doing what I love. And not many people can do that in this day and time. Since 10 years old, I wanted to do this. I wanted to be the messenger. I wanted to be the person that has the information, that delivers it to people, that has an impact on their lives. I figured that out at the early age of 10. I was fascinated by television. You look at the TV, the news came on. What did the news people have? They had something that you didn't know, and they had it first. And I wanted to be that person. I wanted to be the person delivering the information that mattered. It's not so much that I thought it would elevate me. It was that people needed that, and I wanted to be the vessel that they received that information from. So I'm living the dream. That's what I wanted to do since I was 10 years old. Now, how did I get here? Well, everything that I've done in life, behind me is my faith, and that's very, very important to me. The belief in that faith and the plan that faith has given me. I go by Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. He didn't say, I said this, maybe. He declared it on my life. He has plans for me. But listen to this, plans to prosper me and not harm me. Plans to give you a hope and a future. And so that's been the bedrock of my life through the course of my career. Knowing that I had a plan and knowing that I had a higher person to answer to. So as I talk today, let it be known that that's kind of where I'm coming from. And hopefully that will encourage you as well. The message is more important than the person delivering it. Always remember that. The message is more important than the person who delivers it. Whatever the task is that you have, deliver that with excellence. You never know who's watching. I am huge on first impressions. First impressions are important because it's the only chance you get. You don't get a redo. Know that first impressions are important. And always chase your dream. The dream is a destination, but the dream can also be the journey. So those are the elements that we kind of weave in and out as I look around my career, through my career. Being the messenger, doing it with excellence, and following your dream. I wanted to be on TV. I wanted to be the messenger. I wanted to do news or sports. Really wanted to do sports. Love sports. I'm in school here at UGA. Grady School. What a great time that was. You guys have it better. Going through news source. Do you realize that's like a small market television station? What you have there? Don't overlook that. What I saw today, unreal. I'm in school here. We're behind. You guys are right there. You're ready to go into the marketplace. I had a couple wonderful professors here, Al Wise and Bill Martin. Bill Martin took me aside about my junior year. We're doing mock television in there because we didn't do a real newscast. Everything was pretend. Bill took me aside knowing that I wanted to do either news or sports. He goes, you know what? Says, have you ever thought about doing weather? And I said, no. And he says, you really need to think about this because you have an innate talent of ad-libbing. You can talk on your feet. You can make it sound important. You can gather your thoughts in your head at a split of just like that. He says, that's what weather is. Weather is ad-libbing. There's no script. I'm like, really? He says, yes. He says, that's a hard thing to teach. He says, think about it. Here it is. That time it's in the early 80s. Truthfully, the television marketplace is full of white guys. 1970s, early 80s, it's nothing but white men. At that time, television stations needed to represent society like they should. And so stations were hiring women and minorities to better reflect what the marketplace was. But if you had a specialty, such as weather, then perhaps I could get a job. And so I'm forever grateful for Bill Martin for kind of shadowing me that direction. So my first job, and I didn't know anything about weather. My first job that I did get because I was energetic, because I maybe had some talent, was down at WALB in Albany, Georgia. And I went down there not knowing the difference between a warm front and a cold front. But here's how, when you look back at your life, the Lord, for me, puts people in my path of importance. And young people may not see that now, but what I want you to do is, as you're on your journey, I want you to see this of people in your path that are going to help you. And so I went down there and studied under the late, great Gil Patrick. Gil was an ex-Navy meteorologist, was on the air down there for many years. And he took me under his wing, and he sat there, and every day in his office, between his cigarettes, we had weather school. And he taught me the basics of Meteorology 101. And I caught on pretty quick. And I'm forever grateful for Bill Martin. At that time, I left Albany and went to Macon, worked at WMAZ, ran into a person named Dodie Cantrell. You heard of her? That was way back when, but it was a lot of fun. I did weather in Macon, and I reported during the week. And that was an example. Well, let me hold on, I lost my train of thought. Let me go back to Albany. Albany, I was doing weather on the weekends and doing production work during the week. Well, I didn't want to do production work. I wanted to be on television. But what happened is during that time, I learned what went on behind the scenes. I ran audio. I ran audio for a gospel show every week. The irony is I'm tone deaf. And so as I'm running audio for the gospel show, I don't know. I'm just looking at the meter, making sure I don't peg. That's all. I did some directing. I did technical directing as a young person, young guy. But what that did was it allowed me now, looking back, I understand what it takes to be in the audio booth. I understand what it takes to be behind the scenes in the control room. I learned that in Albany. I came to Macon. I'm a weather person during the week, or on the weekend. During the week, I'm a reporter. That taught me how to tell stories. And that, looking back now, allows me to tell the weather story every night. I didn't want to be a reporter, per se. I didn't want to go out and have to shoot my own video. But you know what? I did. And I did it with excellence because it helped me down the road. I moved from Macon to Columbus. Thought it was a big move, and it was, because I went from weekends to weeknights. Big time. And I went into Columbus and replaced somebody that had been there a while. So I had the experience at that time of going in and replacing somebody that was a legend, somebody that was a name. And what that taught me is when I went in was just to be myself. I didn't try to be somebody that I'm not. I just went in to be me. And that carried me very well later in life of when I had to do that in my career here in the past year or so. Also, it's funny how you run into people and you don't know how they're going to have an impact on your life until you look back, and that happens. So I was doing weeknight weather. We hired a young lady named Kathy Kennedy to do weekend weather in Columbus, whose sister was a friend of mine, Kimberly, who was already an anchor in Atlanta. And so I worked with Kathy. She comes down to visit. Kimberly comes down to visit Kathy. I'm in Columbus for about a year. She says, hey, our weekend weather guy in Atlanta is leaving. I think, why don't you give me your tape and I'll take it to the news director. And I'm thinking, there's no way. I'm in Columbus, Georgia. I can't work in Atlanta. I'm 26 years old. She goes, no, let me take your tape. So she took my tape physically. This is back, you know what a tape is? Yeah. What the video used to be on before digital. So she took my tape into the news director's office, and I'll never forget, we're in Columbus, and the phone rings, and it's David. Says David Lipoff at WSB, and I'm like, yeah. He says, well, Kimberly brought me your tape. We kind of like what we see. We want you to come up and talk to us. I'm like, okay. And he says, when can you come? And I said, well, when do you want me? And he says, well, what about Thursday? And I said, okay. It's the only time in my 32-year career that I ever called in sick. When I wasn't sick. I figured this was a good time to do that. And so I drove up from Columbus to Atlanta, had the interview at WSB, and then, thought I was just overwhelmed that I'm walking through WSB. I'm like, are you crazy? I'm meeting these people that I've grew up and seeing, and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's Monica, there's John. Oh my God, who are these people? And waited a little while, and then a couple weeks later, the phone rings, and they want me to come back. And I go meet with the general manager, Andy Fisher, who was like this, god of local television news, and I'm sitting in Andy Fisher's office, and he's trying to sell me on WSB, and I'm thinking, this is like an out-of-body experience. This is crazy. He's trying to sell me on the place that I'd die to come work for. I'd probably go work there for free, and they about got me for free. They knew that. And so I went from Albany to Macon to Columbus in about 4 years, and then I find myself at WSB in Atlanta, which is the pinnacle, big-time, #1 news operation in all the country. And I can't believe that I landed there, and then I can't believe that I stayed there for 26 years. A lifetime. And it taught me so much, and I grew so much, and I never knew and thought that I would have the opportunity to become a chief meteorologist. During that time, back in the days when I was in Macon, I decided to go back to school to study meteorology. I figured this is what I wanted to do. this is where my end was going to be in this industry, that I needed to kind of know what it is I was talking about, so I chose to go back to school. I did that through the program that was mentioned at Mississippi State. And so when I went to Columbus, I was the main weather guy. We didn't know we were chief meteorologists back then. And so when I came to Atlanta, then I was doing weekends. And I spent 18 years on the weekends. Every Saturday and Sunday I worked. Think about that for a minute. And I say that to the young people because through your career you're going to have to make sacrifices. And that was one that I was willing to make. And my family adjusted. I missed a lot, but I gained a lot too, because I was working at a tremendous television station surrounded by tremendous people. A couple of them you've honored in the past. Dear friends of mine that guided me through many, many, many years. Monica Kaufman-Pearson and John Pruitt. Two unbelievable people. Monica taught me how to treat people in the public. She encouraged me on my second day at WSB, get out in the community, get to know people, see people, make contact with people, do as much speaking as you can, be as much schools as you can, because that's where you're going to make the connection. Keep in mind, young folks, there's no internet, there's no Facebook, there's no Twitter. It's one-on-one. And she told me that. I took her to her word. And what that allowed me to do is it allowed me to elevate my position in the community a little bit higher than what you would normally find as a weekend weather person. So I took the initiative to do that on my own time. John Pruitt talked to me about how to be balanced, how to tell the story the right way, how to be a calming presence when things are kind of crazy. So two people that really had a huge impact on my formative years of 20s and 30s, I can't thank enough. And are, to this day, very dear friends. So I'm working in Atlanta. I'm doing weekends forever. And I want to be a chief meteorologist. That's my dream. I am being the messenger. I'm doing my work with excellence, but I haven't fulfilled my dream yet. Oh yeah, working at WSB is tremendous, but that's not how I wanted my career to end. I wanted to be a chief. I wanted to be the guy in charge. I was an integral player at WSB. I did a lot of wonderful things, did some great work, but at the end of the day, when WSB would announce their starting lineup, I wasn't in it. And I wanted that opportunity before my career was done. And I didn't know if that was ever going to happen. And so that's kind of where faith comes in and timing. Years ago, a long time ago, I'm in Atlanta and I get a call from a Fox executive. And he's asking me about my availability to go be a chief meteorologist in Denver. And I said, well, I've lived in that part of the country before. It's nice, but my family is here in Atlanta. I don't think I want to go there, but I appreciate the offer. And I didn't think too much about that, and I really didn't remember that phone call. There were other phone calls. If you're working in Atlanta, you get some phone calls of people through the years of wanting you to go different places. And I don't remember that particular phone call, but the Fox executive did. Years later, same executive is working at one of their other stations in Florida. Calls me, wants me to come to his station there. I remember that conversation. I didn't know it was the same guy, but he always remembered the way that I handled myself in the conversations that we had. So when he became an executive in Atlanta, he wanted me to stay in Atlanta. Well, as you know, or may not know, when you're working, you have a contract. In that contract, you have a non-compete clause, meaning that when you're at a station and your contract is over, you have to sit out a prescribed time before you can go work at that other station. It's really protection for the station that you're currently working at, because they have invested a lot of time and effort and promotion in you, and they don't want the other station to benefit from that right away. Truthfully, Georgia is a right-to-work state. I don't know how enforceable they are, but nobody's really challenged that lately in the broadcast industry because it is so time-consuming and costly, frankly. So time goes by, and it's about 2010 now, and I have an opportunity to go to another Atlanta television station to be their chief meteorologist. And so Lynn and I talked about it, prayed about it, and it just didn't feel right at that time. So we didn't do it, and I re-signed and stayed at WSB. So there I am, I'm being the messenger, I'm doing all my work with excellence, but I'm still chasing my dream. And so some things happened in the last couple of years. Relationships are developed. There seems to be a possibility that things might happen at Fox 5, and so we're just kind of waiting of what should I do. And about that time, my mother-in-law becomes very, very ill and passes away. And during that time, we wondered, did she have any regrets? And I didn't want to get to a point that I would regret anything. So we made the decision that I was not going to re-sign at WSB. Huge TV station. I was compensated well. Worked with some great people, but it wasn't my dream. And so here's the wild thing about all this, is nobody knew this but me and my wife. So I didn't have anybody to bounce anything off of. We were just going on pure faith. And so if you look at a timeline, that's happening in March. My contract at WSB is up in July. They haven't come to me yet to re-sign, which I figured that they would because I was a pretty good employee. But we made that decision, you know what, we're not going to, and we're going to see what else is out there, and we're going to go chase the dream. And we did. And there was such peace about that. Because I'd done what I'm going to chase my dream. Now, what is that going to be? I don't know what that looks like, but we're going to go chase it. And so April rolls around, and by that time WSB comes to me and they say that they want to keep me. And I said, well, here's the thing. My dream is to be a chief meteorologist. And their response is that we have one of those. And I said, well, I know that. And so what else do you want? And I said, my dream is to be a chief meteorologist. We have one of those. I know. This is going on and on and on. And so kept being my response. And then they couldn't understand. They thought that I was crazy. Keep in mind now, here's what's the bizarre thing about all this. I'm just giving you the backstory, is that there's very few people in the world that know all this is going on. And that's a tough thing that, I'm working with people that I love dearly and I can't tell them what's about to happen. And so finally it comes out that Ken Cook, who's at Fox 5 as the chief meteorologist, is retiring. Well, then things got interesting. Got real interesting because the folks at WSB put two and two together and figured out what I was doing, or thought they knew what I was doing. And I can honestly tell you, standing up here, that there was nothing was signed, no deal was made at that time, because contractually I couldn't And I just wanted to be above the board. I had an attorney. I just wanted to make sure that I was doing everything correctly. Right. And it goes back to being excellent, doing something with excellence. If you're going to do something, do it right. And I think we did it the right way. And so I left WSB in June. My contract was up in July, and I went on a 6-month sabbatical while I was away. And it was wonderful. It was a time to recharge. It was a time to rest. And in January, I was named Chief Meteorologist at Fox 5. The faith worked. I chased the dream and it happened. And you're sitting there as 22 and 23-year-olds going, wow, that's pretty cool, I think. What I want you to take away from this is it took 31 years for it to happen. It didn't happen like that. You're in an instantaneous society. It doesn't happen that quick. It may happen to you. I don't know too many chief meteorologists in the 8th market, 9th market in the country at the age of 26 or 27. It takes a while. And now I'm living the dream. It is just unbelievable. So always think about the message and being the messenger. Always think about doing it with excellence. And always try to live out your dream. There's a couple things I want you to be aware of that I've learned is that dream path is very curvy. It has obstacles and it has delays. Don't give up. Don't. Along that path, understand that people matter. Everyone along the path that you come in contact with, work with, everybody wants to be noticed, appreciated, and valued. It's just being nice to people. The cool thing about where I stand now is the best is yet to come. I'm living my dream, but the best is yet to come. That's exciting for me. I get to go to work every day and do what I love. How many people get to do that? I don't know, but I know one. I know one. So here's what you can do. Here's your takeaways. This is going to sound odd, but just hear me out. You ready? Here's what you can do to get to the point to continue to pursue your dream. You ready? How about exercise? Like, what? Exercise. Take a walk. Take a run. Hit the gym. Do something that's going to kick in endorphins. A world-class athlete told me if you do anything 40 times in a row, it becomes a habit. In the Bible, religious leaders asked Jesus, what is the greatest commandment? Jesus responded, love your Lord God with all your mind, all your soul, and all your strength. You need to be physically strong to enjoy the journey, to endure the journey. You have to take care of your body. Exercise. You're a generation that did not go out and play. You're a generation that did not play kickball, kick the can, football, Red Rover. You didn't do it. You need to exercise. Take care of your body. You need the strength to endure what you're about to embark on, and that's some very long days, very long nights, messed up sleep patterns. You need physical strength. Continue. That's number one. Exercise. That's easy, right? Exercise. Number two, continue to learn. That's easy. But find out something new every day. Ask questions. Students, there are more to life, or more in life, than Wikipedia. That's not the answer. You have to go beyond that. Allow communication to be a two-way street. In this soundbite world, you need to go beyond the 15 seconds. Ask questions. Ask questions. Never lose the childlike quality of being inquisitive. You have to ask the questions. You have to do the research. You have to dig deeper. Don't be superficial. Don't limit it to 140 characters. Ask the questions. If you see something, you question it. You ask the questions. We're going to exercise. We're going to ask questions. And then, no matter how you feel, you're going to get up, you're going to dress up, and you're going to show up. Successful people exceed because of preparation. My family's heard this their whole lives. I do not believe in lucky. Nor do I believe in fortunate. It's all about preparation. It's all preparing you for the opportunity when it presents itself. Carry that attitude and you will excel. Take pride in the way you look. Dress like a professional. Think about how your image is portrayed. We work, like it or not, in a visual industry. People will look at you and make a decision before you even open your mouth. It's TV, it's video, it's visual. Make sure you dress appropriately. And finally, as you get up, dress up, and show up early. If you're on time, you're late. When I did my live shot out there tonight, the 5 o'clock news came on at what time? Do you know? 4:58. If I'm ready at 5 o'clock, guess what? I'm late. If you're on time, you're late. Early is best. Nobody ever got penalized for being early. Exercise, ask more questions. No matter how you feel, get up, dress up, show up. Enjoy your journey. Be that messenger. Excel in what you do. Take time to enjoy the people that are around you. Learn from them. Be the messenger. Excel in what you do. And live your dream. And then one day you can be here. I am humbled at this award. It means the world. Students, I thank you. God bless and have a good night.